This is the Salem Haunted Dollhouse, and these are my comments on it before it goes off to its next life. This is the house when it's lit, which is a very important part of the house. It was not designed for that. This house, when it was first acquired, was in bits and pieces. It was somebody's unfinished idea, and I think what I've been doing is just adding to that idea before I pass it on. The idea of the wiring was just horrendous because there's no outlets, there's no way to really run wiring the way you would do with a contemporary dollhouse that's kind of built for it. All of the little lights in this house, actually I had to cut off all of the connecting pieces, and I had to wire them by hand. And that was rather tedious. Also, I'd kind of built the house, then decided to do the wiring, took it apart, did the wiring, and then redid it. It's been done several times, but in a way that's the point. It's never quite the same. And I realized that's kind of the idea of the dollhouse, is that it's very fluid and it keeps changing. It's not supposed to be the same. I've been working on this house for about several years, and people and things have come and gone. And that's what life is about. Life is not static, and the house is not static. Starting with the kitchen. Looks reasonably pleasant. There's food out. Looks in some ways rather welcoming. It has a couple of parrots, which just landed there for some reason. I consider parrots to be protective, but maybe there's a reason why you would need protection here, because you notice the large oven, and that reminds me a little bit of Hansel and Gretel. So there's a little story, a fairy tale everywhere. So you can kind of work with that however you want. It can be a good thing. You might have a fairy tale that has some ominous overtones to it, but there's also protective elements. So it's whatever you want to do with it. And then we move upstairs to a room I probably worked on the most, and that's me, sitting there in the rocking chair. Originally, or at one point, I was reading a story, and then I took the book away because I wanted it to be completely interactive and not someone else's story. The stories really belong to the children who happen to be standing on a magic carpet, and it can take their fantasy anywhere. They've got a unicorn, kind of go along with their imagination. They can tell anybody their stories. There's another unicorn with maybe some other imaginative storytelling ideas. The wise old owl, who's overseeing it, taking a good look at the observer, because everyone looks in, but this dollhouse also looks back at the observer. So the children, you notice they're all on a carpet. That's their magic carpet. So they are definitely on a story, and a magic carpet story can be anything you want. And I may be telling them a story. They may be telling me a story. We're kind of interacting, and that's very much what this house is about. It's about interacting with your thoughts, with your ideas, with fairy tales, folk tales, your own personal stories, other people's stories. Make of it what you will. And again, the children here are not fixed, nor am I, nor is the owl, actually. Anything in this room can be moved around, and that's as it should be. Interestingly, there were 4 children when this first got started. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but there's actually another one in another room. There are 6 children. And it's just another demonstration that life changes, things add, things get subtracted. And so you should be able to do it with this dollhouse. Things are not nailed down. Life's not nailed down. Pictures, lots of pictures in the house, and they all have great significance. The butterflies are nature. Nature is soothing, creative, fluid. Fairies always have a story to tell. Anything imaginative is certainly okay with them. Children with animals, particularly cats, things that are a comfort, things that will listen to our stories, be comforting, take us seriously. This particular cat is actually a member of the family. There are pictures in this house of things that actually represent real people, real things that go on in my own household. These are 2 daughters, and I like to include as much as possible in the fantasy and relate it to the real world. So in this room we have very active storytelling and exchange. In the room next to it, we have the youngest member of the family. She's still in her crib, but I think she'll outgrow it very quickly. And she's just got to dream her own little thoughts at that age, I guess, but hopefully she's started. We have Alice in Wonderland, who has shrunk herself down to fit in this dollhouse. There's also the book on witches and witches, but that's the one that I decided not to read. It's there. It's about Salem, and there's a lot to do about witches. But it's witches, but also any fantasy you want. You can be anything you want here, and hopefully you can be anything you want in life. So let the imagination, let the fantasy begin, I guess. This little girl over the bed, she's also a very protective, but a real member of the family. Very important to me, and can be whatever anybody wants her to be. Downstairs. Upstairs was the children's room, but downstairs is the adult room. In fact, you can't even go upstairs without passing the parrot. He's there, I guess, to sort of, you have to pass by him to go up into the world of imagination. And certainly one hopes, even though we're having a very traditional kind of cocktail party, that's a very different kind of entertainment. That's adult entertainment. But one hopes that the adults can also join in the fantasy and somehow reach that upstairs, out of the way, fanciful world. A little more on our downstairs room with the adults. As we said, they're having a pretty formula cocktail party, the usual formula chit-chat. We hope that somehow they can access their fantasy world. We've provided them with pictures that may help. There is the fairy or angel with the children. More cats. Cats looking at fish. Cats on the plate. Cats are protective. And cats kind of go off and think in their own world. That's for sure. Maybe that will help. And if they want to go upstairs, they'll have to pass by the parrot to go up into that world of pure imagination. Before we leave this room, we should note the ruby slippers, both on the wall and down on this pedestal. Salem has the Ruby Slippers Initiative, and we certainly do welcome everyone. And we enjoy being in a very diverse as well as imaginative city. We're outside the dollhouse now. We have a witch. Of course we have a witch. This is Salem. This is the witch city. So we must have a witch, and all of the things that would go with her. Next to that is a fairy taking a sleigh ride. Don't ask me to explain that one. And here we have a Buddha, very serene, in front of a fish pond. So you can do your imagining, or you can just put your mind at rest if you'd like. We have several objects that are to be picked up and played with. I hope that the house stays sort of as is for the duration of the show that it's going to be in, but generally it's to be interacted with. And these pieces you can interact with physically, and it's a way to introduce you to interacting with it in a fanciful way. Oh yeah, there's a tall ship with a captain and a pirate being chased by a whale. And those are also fun pieces. They can be moved around. There's a ghost. There's a lobster knitting a sweater, a crystal ball. They're all there for people to have fun with. Why the fencing? That's Salem Common. The carousel is Salem Willows. They're put together for spatial reasons, and why not? It's a fanciful dollhouse. You can do whatever you want. This side of the house has the crazy cat lady. Madness is a little spooky, but fun. And there's all of her cats interacting with each other. Again, that's a point here, is that things aren't placed randomly. They all kind of interact. Hopefully people get something from that interactivity. And there's Katrina. She's on her way to the ball. Mrs. Chicken in the rocking chair isn't going anywhere. Maybe shopping, maybe not. More Katrinas with crystal balls, playing the guitar, doing whatever they feel like. Moving right around the house, there's Salem Common, Salem Willows. More cats with a cat lady. And just, I don't even know what that creature is. Some sci-fi thing. Things to play with. Monsters in the background. Of course, there should be monsters in the background. There's a piano that was too big to fit in the house. But it also has connotations. It could be just great to play the piano. Or it could be the agony of having to practice when you don't feel like it. So, as most of the other things in this house, it's really kind of up to the viewer as to what they want to do with it.